After President Trump's campaign stop in Michigan today, we are joined now by Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. Thanks so much for joining us, especially during this busy time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So first, give us a sense on where your state stands on early and absentee voting and any trends that you're seeing on turnout. For example, Democrats nationally are saying that younger voters are really coming out. Have you seen that or any increase in minority participation in areas like Detroit that saw a drop 4 years ago from prior elections?
Yes, I mean, number one, we've just seen voter enthusiasm and engagement off the charts. More people are on track to vote than ever before in our state, and already more people have voted early than ever before. 2.2 million citizens have returned their absentee ballots 1 week prior to the polls close, and another 1.3 million have requested ballots and have yet to be returned. So we're really enthused by the number of people who are engaged this year all across the state, and we're certainly seeing those numbers among our younger voters as well. In fact, a significant majority of the newer registered voters are between the ages of 18 and 20, which is also just a great thing to see for the future of our democracy.
Now, in Michigan, all ballots have to be turned in by Election Day in order to be counted. Given the delays reported in the Postal Service, would you say that, in your estimation, it's too late to trust putting a ballot in the mail at this point? If so, what's your advice to voters still holding their absentee ballots on the best ways to return it on time? I think you just said, what is it, 1.3 million have not yet returned those ballots.
Right. And we're telling everyone, if you've got a ballot, return it either at your local drop box, and we've installed over 1,000 secure local drop boxes all around the state, or at your local clerk's office. Just get it in by 8 p.m. on Election Day. And we're seeing people respond to that, not just in Michigan, but all across the country. It's now important to return your ballots in person. Don't rely on the mail, regardless of what state you're in. Get your ballots in by your state's deadline.
And for those who do plan to vote actually in person, are you confident that your state is prepared to run polling places smoothly on Election Day despite the pandemic? And also, what kinds of processes have you put into place to make sure that everyone who wants to vote in person will be able to do so?
Yes, certainly. We're ready for Election Day voting as well. And we've been preparing for that even in the midst of this pandemic since COVID-19 came to Michigan back in March. This, importantly, will be our 4th election in Michigan this year. And we have it set up so that if voters choose to vote in person, they can be assured they'll be met with poll workers with masks and gloves and sneeze guards and hand sanitizer. All social distancing protocols will be followed as well. We've recruited over 30,000 new election workers to be ready to go, including a standby reserve group of 1,000 to ensure our precincts are fully staffed. And by getting so many people, in fact, we estimate 2/3 of our voters will be voting prior to Election Day. That means for the 1/3 remaining to vote on Election Day, they can anticipate smooth sailing, no lines, no crowds, and a great experience at the polls as well.
And now the president has called for his supporters to serve as poll watchers on Election Day. What's being done to keep voters safe from any potential voter intimidation, especially in the wake of the plot against Governor Whitmer and your state's history with militias?
Well, as the state's chief election officer, I do take very seriously my responsibility and authority to protect not just the health and safety of our voters at the polls, but the security as well. And so we've issued several directives to our clerks and our poll workers to know what to do if you see voter intimidation. We've been working with law enforcement to also protect the sanctity of the polling place. And we'll also have people throughout the state on the ground ready to respond if things occur, because we want to keep those precincts as calm, as sacred as possible.
The president falsely tweeted last night that we must have a final vote total on election night. You quickly responded back on Twitter, nope, wrong again. Candidates don't get to decide when results are announced. Election administrators do. So how much of the vote do you expect to get counted by election night? And any concern at all that not having a final vote for several days could potentially lead to legal challenges if the race is closely contested?
Well, my priority is making sure that every valid ballot counts. We anticipate probably over 3 million ballots will have been submitted early. We will begin counting them on Election Day, and it is going to take time to work through all of that. And that's what we should want. We should want secure protocols in place, methodical counting to ensure accurate results. And I'm confident that both will maintain transparency from the moment the polls close to the moment we have that full tabulation to update the public about what's actually happening, so that they can be confident in the results.
One more question, just want to sneak in here. Of course, we've been interviewing several secretaries of state, and I've been just asking, what keeps you up at night, if anything, as it applies to this election?
Well, certainly the biggest variable is misinformation. And we've done an incredible amount of investment in educating our voters to not just know their rights and their options to vote this year, but to be prepared to counter disinformation or misinformation if it hits their communities. We've had robocalls, we have had false text messages, and various other things designed to confuse voters about their rights. And the really gratifying thing is that voters are responding by reporting that misinformation to myself and the Attorney General so that we can investigate and hold accountable those who would seek to sow seeds of doubt falsely amongst our voters about their rights. It certainly does keep me up at night because we want to make sure we're always out in front, on top of it, and responding to it as quickly as possible so that no voter is disenfranchised based on misinformation or disinformation.
And we see your necklace there, VOTE. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, ABC News is your home for live coverage on election night with our powerhouse political team. Our coverage starts at 7 p.m. Eastern on November 3rd, 1 week from tonight.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.